Welcome back to Show Me Horticulture, where Missouri's landscapes, gardens, and growing traditions come to life. I'm your host, and today we're digging deep into the roots of Missouri gardening. Every flower bed, every backyard tomato patch, every native prairie restoration has a story beneath the soil. It's not just about what we plant, it's about who we are and how we've learned to work with the land we call home. Let's start where all roots begin, in the past. Part 1. Historical Roots. Long before Missouri was called Missouri, this land was tended with care. Indigenous peoples like the Osage, Missouria, and Illini peoples practiced sophisticated forms of agriculture, growing the three sisters corn, beans, and squash, not in separate rows, but together. Each plant supported the others, corn giving beans a place to climb, beans fixing nitrogen for the soil, and squash shading the ground to keep in moisture. It was a living demonstration of cooperation, thousands of years before we called it companion planting. When European settlers arrived in the 1800s, they brought new seeds, wheat, clover, and fruit trees, and adapted their farming to Missouri's unpredictable mix of clay, loam, and limestone soils. The land shaped their methods just as much as they shaped it. By the late 19th century, towns and cities across Missouri began forming garden societies and agricultural fairs. These were as much social gatherings as they were competitions. A good tomato might win a ribbon, sure, but it's also won your neighborhood bragging rights. Then came the early 20th century, a time of big changes. Extension programs began spreading agricultural knowledge through the University of Missouri and local 4-H clubs. During the World Wars, victory gardens popped up in every community, proof that a garden could feed both families and morale. And by the 1950s, gardening had taken on a new identity. Suburban lawns, decorative landscaping, and roses tended in neat rows. Yet even as trends changed, Missouri gardeners never fully left behind that spirit of practicality and pride in homegrown things. Part 2. Ecological Roots. Now let's dig into the land itself, the foundation beneath every Missouri garden. This state sits at a remarkable crossroads of ecosystems. To the north, you've got prairie and tallgrass. To the south, the rolling Ozark forests and glades. To the east, the Mississippi River Valley is a tapestry of soil and weather patterns that keeps gardeners guessing and learning. Our soils are storytellers too. Central Missouri's clay-rich loam holds water and nutrients but compacts easily. Great for tall plants with deep roots, not so kind to fragile seedlings. The Ozarks, with their rocky, thin soils, favor plants that can stretch deep and tough, like blue stem, coneflower, and the resilient oak. And here's a fascinating thing about Missouri's native plants. They're root champions. Prairie grasses like big blue stem can send roots down 10 feet or more, anchoring soil, holding moisture, and surviving droughts that wilt important ornamentals. Those roots don't just feed the plant, they feed the ecosystem, returning carbon and building soil over time. When you choose native species, from purple coneflower to butterfly milkweed, you're not just planting for beauty, you're participating in an ancient ecological network. It's humbling, really. These roots reach deeper than we can see, both literally and historically. They remind us that good gardening starts with understanding where you stand. Part 3. Cultural Roots. Every gardener in Missouri carries a piece of the state's story. Maybe it's a grandmother's peony patch passed down through generations. Maybe it's a new community garden sprouting behind a church in St. Louis or Springfield. Gardening here is personal and it's social. We swap cuttings, trade tips, and argue good-naturedly about whether to plant tomatoes before or after Mother's Day. Modern gardening in Missouri has stretched beyond lawns and flower beds. You'll find rooftop gardens, pollinator corridors, and prairie restorations in city parks. People are rediscovering that gardening is about connection to nature, to community, and even to history. Take heirloom seeds, for example. Groups across the state are preserving varieties that have been grown in Missouri for generations, seeds that travel through families, droughts, and even migrations. Each seed is a time capsule of resilience. And today, we're blending tradition with innovation. Gardeners are learning from both indigenous ecological knowledge and modern soil science. merging centuries of observation with new understanding about sustainability. In a sense, the roots of Missouri gardening aren't just in the soil, they're in our hands, in our habits, in our shared memory of how to nurture life from the land. Every garden tells a Missouri story, one of persistence, adaptation, and care. From native roots that hold the soil to family roots that hold us together, gardening here is a living heritage. Next time on Show Me Horticulture, we'll take a closer look at one of those deep-rooted Missouri natives, a plant with a medicinal twist. You want to stay tuned for that one. Until then, keep your hands in the soil and your curiosity growing.